Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. This is Expresso on SABC3. Lovely to have you, and it's good to be waking up to a fresh new week now. There is a lot. It's Monday, and hopefully your weekend was so relaxed that you need a complete reality check this morning. Now, fortunately, our news editor, Roy Simpson, is back with us to bring us up to speed on what has been happening in the headlines. And of course, you can join in on that conversation. Always good to hear from you by sending us a WhatsApp voice note to 063 40 888 633. Now, Mondays always feel good, but they could be worse. We could be on stage 16 load shedding, or you could be Andre the Rater. Roy Simpson, thank you for joining us this morning. Again, we're talking about load shedding. Look, that was meant a bit lighthearted, but stage 16. This could be a real thing, apparently. What's going on?
Well, it is a real thing, at least theoretically. Look, on one level, we don't have to worry. Tonight, 7 o'clock, President Cyril Ramaphosa is going to finally announce his cabinet reshuffle. And in that cabinet will be the appointment of the electricity minister.
Yes.
So everything will be sorted by Wednesday, so it's fine.
Okay.
That's obviously not how it's going to work. And Eskom knows that, and all the players in the power industry know that as well. So if you cast your mind back to, it was November of 2018, when stage 4 was considered extreme.
Yeah.
And then there were these rumors that there was a stage 6. And that they'd planned for it, and there were the memes.
Yes,
they're going to come, they're going to
remember.
just take the candles out of your house. So then eventually that document got seen by the press, and there was a stage 8 in there. So this is one of these things where it's kind of like Gqeberha, you know, as the levels go down, then eventually you can go out and you can just see the bodies lying there. This body in question here is something which we'd never heard of, called the National Rationalized Standards Association.
The National Rationalized Standards Association.
Yeah, the NRS, as if we've heard about it before. They've apparently been in existence for 25 years, and they get together and they talk about what happens if. And in this case, the what happens if has resulted in them starting to draw up schedules which include a theoretical stage 16. But as consumers, there's not that much more they can do to us. They could take us to like a Malawi level where it's 18 hours a day that we lose power. But we discovered recently when they touched stage 7 that they're these big electricity consumers that they can turn off. So the smelters, for example, use extraordinary amounts of energy.
Yeah.
So those guys can be load shed, and the mines and other big users can be load shed as individual pockets of user, which means that we as consumers won't be hit quite so hard. But yes, it's real.
But still, I mean, even if it's able to do those big companies and big organizations, it's still a knock-on effect for the economy. It doesn't matter, you know. So let's hope we don't get there. But we are sticking to the electricity. Under the Rater, we know that he made some accusations of corruption of parliamentary members. He's now been served with court papers by the ANC.
And in fact, his deadline to answer those has kind of expired as well. But this is...
They gave him 7 days,
Yes.
just to fill you in quickly.
Yeah. So you can argue whether that's 7 business days, whatever. It really doesn't matter, because we're going to get into a very technical argument. Because they're correct that the law was changed, and there's a section 34A that he's meant to report to the head of the DPCI, the head of the Hawks, is who he's meant to go to as a responsible financial officer who suspects corruption of over 100,000 rand. So the ANC is leaning on, you haven't gone to the Hawks. He's gone to the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masemola, and in fact, they've started an investigation inside Eskom. So he will say, but he's fulfilled his duty. And they will go, no, you needed to go to the head of the Hawks.
Yeah.
But he also only needs to go to the head of the Hawks with suspicion.
Yeah.
So they're saying, bring the evidence, come out with your facts. He doesn't need to do that. He just needs to go and go, I suspect this is happening.
It's because obviously no longer part. He's resigned. He's stepped out.
You don't lose your responsibility when that happens. But the point is, we're getting into a legal technical argument now where 2 legal teams are going to argue about the nuances of, has he already fulfilled his obligations?
I see.
He will obviously argue he has. He went to the National Police Commissioner and indeed the President to unveil what he suspects.
Exactly, because that would be the natural go-to, which he's done. He's done a good job at that as well. I think we all think that he did a good job under the circumstances. But what is next for him now? Where's he going to go now? What's the future looking like for him, do you think?
I think we speculated this a while ago. I think the near future is he gets out of the country and lets things simmer down. I mean, people have literally tried to kill him. So I would imagine an extended sabbatical. outside the country, a possibility to reassess. As you say, given the circumstances that he operated under as CEO, there will be a lot of people who feel that he did a sterling job. So he'll move on to another high-profile position, I suspect, in another country.
Yeah, but for now, we wait with bated breath for the cabinet reshuffle to see what is going to be happening. 7 p.m. tonight, apparently, President Cyril Ramaphosa will be announcing that reshuffle, and what does it look like? We're going to be back with Roy just a little bit later. We're talking about some protests happening at Wits as well. He's going to be filling us in on all those details as well. So stick around right here on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. And of course, remember, if you want to join this conversation, we'd love to hear from you as well. 063 40 88863.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
It's your Monday morning on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Lovely to have you this morning. Now, there's always something going on in Mzansi, and protests on the Wits University campus have been one of the most notable things. We're back with news editor Roy Simpson to fill us in. But don't forget, join the conversation by sending a WhatsApp voice note to 063 40 88863. Lovely to hear from you guys as well at home and your thoughts with regards to what is happening out there in South Africa. Roy, okay, so protests at Wits. It got a little bit violent on Friday. What exactly is going on there?
It's a whole fight around money, essentially, and fees money. So some students have been excluded, and this is fairly common across campuses. If they owe money from previous years, then they can't re-register for this year's courses. And in some cases, these are large amounts of money. I mean, tertiary education is really expensive. So the SRC, for example, is trying to set a cap of 150,000 owing. So if you have debt of less than 150,000, you should be allowed to register. So that's stumbling block number one. The university is saying it can't do anything about that it can't allow that to happen because of the number of people that are affected, the amounts of money that are involved. It's simply, well, it wouldn't be economically viable as an entity. So they're saying we can't do this. They've in fact moved quite a lot of money around to what they call, I forget what they're called, but they're like support funds, effectively. And if you're struggling with money, then they've got this pot of about 24 million rand that is available to help you out. The other issue is the cost of accommodation. And NSFAS, the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, has set a cap of 45,000 rand a year for that. And the problem is that Wits accommodation starts at about 58,000. So they're already 14 grand short there. And through up until postgraduate level goes up to about 80,000 rand, but you get a lot more for your money at that stage. But at that bottom level, the gap between 45,000 and 58,000, people are saying, but where are we meant to invent that money from? How are we meant to come up with that money? And so this clash has happened. And it's kind of almost a clash between the private education model, which Wits is a private institution, and then the public education model, where people have gone through school that's been paid for by the government, and they've been told their tertiary education will be paid for by the government. Now they've come to a tertiary institution, and the institution's going, no, you must pay us. So it's a clash of cultures in a way.
Absolutely. I mean, if you take a look at education in South Africa, I mean, it's so nice to see that there's, this massive wave of eager young students wanting to get involved. But I mean, we're talking big numbers here. So what is the outcome? How come the two parties, can they work together?
I'm sure they can. The interests are in producing education, and the interests are ensuring that everyone has access to education. It's always been, the idea has always been the doors of learning and culture shall be open to all. And so there has to be some kind of a compromise here. I think the tricky thing with this fight between the students and the institution is that a lot of it involves NSFAS, which is government. So they're fighting with each other, but the party that needs to come to the rescue isn't part of these discussions. So I think the department needs to be brought in, the government needs to be brought in some way into these negotiations, and then I think there will be a solution.
There's lots going on, but you mentioned NSFAS, the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. So they've been in the news about placing a paper or an ad in a bar.
No, I knew you were going here, and it's kind of quite the opposite.
Okay.
The bar was placing an ad for saying, well, effectively come and spend your NSFAS money with us, and offering special offers on beer and cider. So the phrase is, Ingenile, the money is in. And it's, well, there's an allowance every month. So there's a living allowance for NSFAS students of 1,250. There's a transport allowance of 623, and materials allowance of 443. Anyway, it adds up to about 2,500 Rand a month. But the thing is, you can't police this on an individual basis. So that money simply gets released into bank accounts of these individual students. And all you need to do as a student is attend 80% of your classes and maintain a certain academic standard. And then that's fine. The money just keeps coming in. But it's in your account. It's your money. So if you...
So essentially, there's no track record of what you do with that money.
Correct. And I think that the anger coming out of NSFAS is that this advert exposes exactly that. It exposes the fact that there's no control, that vast amounts of money are being handed over.
Ooh,
But then on the student side, they'll be thinking, well, if I don't catch a taxi, if I walk instead, then that money's mine and I can go drinking
there
with
to
it.
the bar, exactly. Oh my goodness. All right. Yeah, well, there's definitely something that I think NSFAS needs to also pay attention to now. They're going to maybe not police it, but manage it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's even an option.
I don't know, because I think the problem is you'll need to employ so many people to do that that you'll cripple the system itself.
Absolutely. Roy, thank you very much. We're going to be back with Roy for one more chat. Listen, he's got a story about an airline that is upping the ante when it is coming to first class. Stick around for that. Always share your WhatsApp voice notes with us with regards to the news headlines 063 40 888 But this topic on students and money, let's sort you out for some budget students' meals.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
This is your feel-good breakfast show. Welcome back. Now he seems to have opinions and insights on absolutely everything. News editor Roy Simpson back again to help us unpack what is happening. And right now we're casting our eyes a little bit wider to international events now. And as always, please join that conversation by sending us a WhatsApp voice note to 063 40 888 All right, Roy, let's tackle this. What's happening in Tennessee? We saw in Cape Town, the annual Pride March was hosted. It was hugely successful. It was colorful. It was, just saw smiles all over. I followed it on Instagram, wrapping up, of course, a string of LGBTQIA plus events. But in Tennessee, and this is the first of a string of states that's tackling into, and they're saying, hang on, no. What is happening? What exactly is going on?
They're doing more than say hang on.
Yeah.
So this is quite specifically anti-LGBTQIA plus. I think we need a better term than that. I think we need a catch-all term, something like sexually progressive.
Yeah.
I think the community needs to work on that. Anyway, that's the community that's being targeted. So specifically, this legislation is against drag shows. And the legislation, though, as it stands, is it's about on public land, because they can't regulate private land quite that way. So it's on public land. It needs to be prurient, which means, sexually charged in some way, and it needs to involve children. So that's a lot of little caveats and corners on that particular piece of legislation. And there's already legislation. So in Tennessee, and you spoke of these other states, there are probably 11 more states with laws a lot like this in the pipeline. And man, there are already laws in place to deal with these things. There's pornography laws in Tennessee that already govern the performance of drag shows. So this is symbolic. This is very much an attack on the community. And it's part of that culture war that the Americans seem to be engaged in. And certainly the right wing of America has labeled it a culture war. And if you're looking for an origin, I think it's wrapped up in a backlash to the progressiveness that has happened in the past couple of decades. So this is an attack on rights in the same way as Roe v. Wade.
Yes.
It was removed as an attack on women's rights. This is a similar attack.
But I mean, this is just, looking at this, I mean, it's going to cause so much internal turmoil for the United States, because you mentioned earlier, we spoke about it off air, the coastal states are very much relaxed. But internally, there's this kind of boiling happening. And it's I don't know how to put it into words exactly, because, I mean, it goes far as well, the fact that there was medical treatment curbed for transgender youth.
Correct.
Which I think gets people hot under the collar.
Well, you've got a situation where the United States is really polarized, and somehow they've got themselves into a scenario where you're in two camps. You're either a Democrat or a Republican. There isn't really a middle ground to be in. And so they've managed to create this culture war narrative. And when I say they, I know the Southern Poverty Law Center, for example, has looked into various hate groups that they've labeled as hate groups. And there's a matrix where these anti-LGBTI organizations cross over with the white supremacist organizations. So it's almost like a backlash of the patriarchy trying to reestablish itself.
All right. Well, let's leave it at that. Let's head to the skies for a second here. Lufthansa, doing something incredible, going to change your way and experience when it comes to long distance travel. Double beds. I'm hearing things.
For real, for real. So this is the Allegris category that they're introducing this year. They're putting it into the planes this year, and then it'll roll out as a product you and I can buy, in theory.
Okay, talk me through this. I want to know.
So that'll be available next year. So the seats are 1 meter wide. They're heated, sorry, climate controlled, so you can heat or cool them. Yeah, okay. Absolutely. And in the one cabin configuration, you can have 2 seats directly next to each other. So you've got this 2 meter width, and then that folds out into a proper double bed. A normal double bed's what, 1 3/4 meters. So it's a big double bed, literally. And then there are these wooden-looking panels that you slide. So you have this entire space, like a mini hotel room. It's the return of the age of opulence. You must look for these things online. You must look up Lufthansa Allegris, and you will see the photos. It's insane. It's beautiful. It's opulent and stylish and expensive.
I was about to say, I mean, here you're literally buying a piece of real estate that you give back when you land. Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, we know that first class, business class, it sets you back quite a bit. But this must be then on another level if we're talking about that level of comfort.
Well, we haven't seen the prices yet, but I'm not sure that you and I know exactly how much it sets you back. Because I had a quick look. Lufthansa from Joburg to Paris, for example, on a good day, 63,000. On a bad day, 88,000. But I mean, if you're going to travel in this kind of luxury, you'd want a decent long-haul flight. So you'd want to go to, let's say, New York.
Yeah.
116,000 rand per seat return to New York from Johannesburg. So this is going to be more expensive. So if you want the double cabin, you're going to look at 2 people. Are you going to fork out about 300,000 rand?
Yeah, no, look, I can think of much better ways to put that money to use. But again, you know, it would be nice to experience, I'm just saying.
Someone should go along and write a review.
Maybe. Look at Roy putting himself front center. Roy, thank you very much for joining us this morning, but you're not going anywhere. Stick around. Remember, 063 408863. That is our WhatsApp line if you want to comment on any of the news headlines. But Roy is here to unpack right now. Come on, spell.